Good morning and welcome to Central Voice TV. And this is the morning daily with me, your host, Pastor Derek Shine Daka. And this morning on the show, because it's Tuesday, we look at economical issues, and of course, these topics we bring them with experts in the studios. And this morning today, I have the privilege of hosting Mr. Kelvin Chisanga, who is an economist, and of course an expert in that line. And of course, we'll be looking at the economic impact under the UPND government in Zambia. And of course, we'll be looking at the policies that have been implemented and policies that can actually be proposed to the government, because economists are the ones driving the economy. And this time around, we have IMF, Reuters, giving us statements, and without understanding what is that statement, the Zambian is asking you, bread is 25 kwacha and the dollar is at 18. That is not translating, and of course, politicians will not tell you the truth about what is behind the numbers. And so today we bring one who understands the numbers. Good morning, Mr. Kelvin.
Good morning. Thank you so much.
Good to have you here.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay.
Sure.
Right. How is the day going? Has it already started?
It's fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Good to have you here. And of course, first time to host you on Central Voice TV. Would like you to greet our viewers and as well as introduce yourself in a nutshell.
Okay. Thank you so much. Good morning, dear viewers, wherever you are hearing or watching us. My name is Kelvin Chisanga. I'm an economist by profession. Of course, I love this country. That's the reason why I center my focus on the economic matters around Zambia. Thank you so much.
All right. And now, I would like us to start first of all with one thing, which has been, the reserves and everything that talks about all this. And sometimes, people are knowing
in a personal household setup, where we basically play with an aspect of savings. So there are times when, if for example you are working for a company, you get paid at the end of the month. You basically learn your expenditure, daily expenditure and monthly expenditure, where you basically work out the requirements at household level. You need to pay rentals, you need to do the basic needs in terms of food and those sort of things like that, and even maybe to some extent transport costs, many other aspects that we can actually be able to consider from that income. But besides that, there is also a portion where you save something for the future in an event that you may be able to face a challenge. That saving is what may tend to be called the reserve from that perspective, because definitely what it will be able to help out is that in an event where you have a calamity, that reserve can be able to be used and cushion that effect. So similarly, with the Zambian case, Zambia has been operating as just like that concept, where we've got the expenditure that we run on national budgets, where we talk of defense, expense, we talk about social protection, we talk about developmental aspect in terms of infrastructure projects, and many other aspects. So in the similar case, for Zambia to remain quite sound and resilient, reserve need to be put in place, because there are instances where we can face things like COVID situation, like the way it happened. We can face any other external shocks that can be able to, put us out of balance. So reserves in the case, they have got three components that we should be able to play out here. One, they basically make us to look beautiful. We're outside Zambia, outside the, world out there, where Zambia is looking so prominent in the certain features that we have actually been able to underscore. Okay. And what we speak in this case is the aspect to do with the investors' confidence. For them to come into this country, they have to see this healthy Zambia. So reserve also portray that healthy aspect to outside. And again, if you are to go into other patterns of how reserves work, on the side of currency, Zambian kwacha in particular, we need to strengthen it to work out with some stability, sense of balance in terms of trade patterns. So reserves come to strengthen and stabilize the local currency from that perspective. Then again, the aspect of imports. There are times when we're importing key essential goods like petroleum. We are importing maybe even fertilizer components. Like this time, we are complementing fertilizer. We've got a blending system, and we're also manufacturing. So we basically need to take care of our imports, those key imports, so that we can survive. So partly on the commerce and trade, reserve also have been able to help out stand with that framework.
So now, let me just cut you there, Mr. Kelvin. I feel very nice the way you're explaining, because it's very good for one who is, just a layman trying to get what you're saying and you're explaining. So now, what is difficult for Zambia, like our country, where we have a town hall meeting, they call an expert like you. You explain to the layman, around to say this is how reserves work, or maybe political parties. I know about reserves, and because at the end of the day, we're being misled. Because actually, when we hear about reserves, we're being told to say our money is being kept in Sweden, and that's where it's being kept. That's all. There's a bank account where Zambia is keeping money in Sweden. That's all.
Okay, so I was about to come to that point because reserve by nature, they are not money readily available in a coffer or somewhere where it may be sitting idle. Reserves are classes of assets. They can be in government bonds with other countries. They can be in other forms of commodity like gold. Bank of Zambia has been keeping gold in part of the reserves. They can be also in other financial instruments that you should be able to see. Some can even be in Congore form, where maybe we have given some stakeholders out there, then we regard them as reserves. So they're not money that is readily available. So in a short way of explanation, these are basically assets which are making Zambia to look so vibrant. Right now, we're speaking of the good macroeconomic stability because reserves have interplayed a critical component making this positive development that we are able to see on the table. So basically, what I should be able to say that reserves are what has made Zambia to sustain this good performance we are seeing today, be it in the kwacha, be it on the inflation side, be it anywhere you are seeing. The good story that you see Zambia making today, reserves have vibrantly helped to make things happen in this way.
The people have been promised to say when we come into power, we're going to use the reserve and put money into segregation. Isn't that going to now endanger Zambia's standing?
So you see, Pastor Daka, reserves, as I mentioned, they are assets in the sense that they are categorically made in such a way that they have to be made to work on the emergencies. Things to do with the cost of living or social protection, they are things that are supposed to be undertaken by the national budget allocation in terms of expenditure columns. Obviously, what we should be able to say is like you are taking your hand to be like the leg in the case, because once you put the reserves in place, they are also part of the framework that need to be put in governance, affairs. Because again, the issue is that the reason why we run the national budget is to attend to some of those daily current aspect of government affairs. So it's very improper to use the reserves to cushion the cost of living, because reserves in their own way, they are basically doing the donkey work of making Zambia look attractive, making a good framework around commerce and trade, and also ensuring that the kwacha does not tumble. Because if we touch on the reserve, like maybe I can give you a typical example where we're coming from. We're coming from where reserves were quite very low, and at the point where these reserves were, we could even see how the kwacha was performing. So that tells us to say that what we have with the reserve standing very positive in this way, it implies to even to say that reserves have also been able to do some benchmark work in the background And that's the reason why we seem to have this positive nature of, good economic patterns.
Okay, awesome. And now, when we look at the reserves and everything, we talk about inflation. Also, Zambia has stabilized in terms of economy, and the inflation has reduced significantly, reaching up to 6.8% in April 2026, within the target of Bank of Zambia. And the IMF appreciating Zambia on the space that Zambia is finding for next.
Positive development in the inflation, I think it's quite a recommendable job, considering that we have cooled down some of the price effects that we actually encountered in the previous times. What we speak today is a situation where we are trying to normalize a number of key fundamental aspects. Inflation index has been going downward, even as we speak right now. We're leading, taking to about 7.5%, which implies that we are pulling down the spikes, because inflation in the case, it's something that has a repercussion on the consumer out there. When you look at the consumer profile, it's so important to say that the inflation has been moderating. Even when you look at now the aspect of cost of living, I think it's imperative to say that we have been holding the prices of some of the essential goods with a longer expectation, meaning what we're creating is an expectation that will not be able to change anytime soon. The work of inflation, maybe to just highlight that inflation is basically the speed at which most of the items are moving. For example, minimum prices. If minimum prices is moving, maybe say 2 kwacha today, tomorrow 10 kwacha, the other day 20 kwacha, that speed is what is called inflation. But now, when you have a situation where the items are holding even in the next few weeks with the same price, then it means that the impact is created there. Meaning, in the business circles, you are able now to predict your profit margins. You're able to predict the environment in terms of the policies, in terms of the other dynamics. So then on the personal level, at household level, we are basically now creating the contentment of preserving household income, meaning we can have disposable income from that perspective.
For the sake of my brothers in Chipata, who okay. I don't say people are trying to go. So I think we'll open the line because I received 2 calls, and I not say that people want to actually speak because they don't want to speak.
Yeah,
And
sure.
we've spoken about the reserves, and also I think we're adding to the kwacha being spent and so kwacha in like Kelvin, and people are buying maybe 1 2%. And
My understanding, or what I would love to illustrate this
yes,
issue.
please go ahead.
The key factor in all these microeconomic variables, like for example the inflation, the quarter appreciation, and even the reserve, these are interconnected if you are able to see. Because you see, I first started with an aspect of laying a background to say the reserves are the ones that have actually made the benchmark performances of some of these factors. Elements to do with the stabilization in the kwacha, it because the reserves have been sound and they are holding that framework. And again, also, if you look at the aspect of inflation, we are talking of holding an expectation, meaning even when you look at this week, for example, buying minimum at 230 kwacha, with the inflation holding in this it means we'll be able to hold the same pricing even up to some few days from now. And what we should not speak in the case that again, when you look at the quarter's performance, sometimes when the quarter is tumbling, it brings an aggressive inflation. So this connection that is taking place with all these others, basically, speaking to say that what we are seeing with correlating to the aspect of cost of living, it's because we are creating an environment which now is like a framework for good investment. When you create an appetite of this nature, what happens that the investors want to flock into this country and interplay into the production, cycles, and obviously what is supposed to happen in the case that we need to meet the consumers' demanding pressure as well. So if the market is created with these attractive numbers as we speak, then there will be an expectation also to say that on the side of the consumer, they should be able to meet up expectation as well, because the investor will want to go into a market which has got some positive, benchmarks. We are talking of positive reserves. We are talking of stability in the kwacha. We are talking of inflation holding up, meaning when the investor is coming into the market, one expectation to make, meaning what will happen is that, first of all, we'll say the market is quite good in terms of consumer profile. And again, in terms of the policy framework, we're able to predict even up to some few months to come to say, okay, in the next few 5 or even just one year from now, the market's not going to change or have some shake-up of some sort. So basically what I'm trying to put across here is that there must be a need to see that some of these connected or coordinated elements are speaking into some positive attributes. And maybe just to sum up all this, when you see the kwacha is holding up, meaning we are not passing the effect of an increment on kwacha to the consumer. We are holding the whole scenario, holding in the sense that the forex market, most of the times in the Zambian case, has been an aggressive inflation later. So now, if the kwacha is holding with that, trading range of 17, 18, meaning we have already created an expectation. So even when you look at the import, we're not going to see the cost structure having addition from there. We'll be able to see certain things compounded within. And when you see also inflation, taking this, some of the common goods like minimum, if you some few months ago, we used to buy minimum 300. Today it's almost coming
in some places.
Yeah, so right now we're speaking of 175 kwacha for a Lola meal bag. And if you look at also the scenario, certain items in the inflation development and patterns will be able to receive some reduction. Like what we see, maybe I can also just cite an example, or rather just do more reasoning to why the kwacha is coming to this level. The reason why the kwacha has been performing this way, because there are some policy medicine that the has been instituting, using so much of the dollars in the market in terms of payment settlement. And again, also, if you look at the whole scenario regarding how we are trading, Zambia has been receiving a very good export basket compared to the import. Copper has been, taken a very good stance in terms of how we support our export wallet. In the case right now, if you look at the export basket, copper is compounding with a bigger chunk, and that is what is actually taking first from that point. Yes.
Now, you've mentioned copper, and I want us to look at this. Should Zambia rely on copper for a long time? Like Zambia relies on electricity generated by the rain, and so we look at those those lines. First of all, we look at copper. Copper has been a letdown to Zambia for a long time, and should Zambia completely rely on the very commodity?
Okay, so two compound questions that you have asked: the energy question and the Okay, so mining in totality has been one of the biggest fundamental factor for our economy to stand where it is right now.
Can we make a wealthy Zambia with mining?
You see, yes, but again, also I would say no, because the issue that copper export or copper extraction is not the only way we can actually be able to build this country, because copper has been being built, was being mined for some time now. It's high time now we go into other critical minerals as well, diversify the mineral resources.
Zambia's gold, Mr. Kelvin.
Yes.
So billionaires in Zambia in dollar, not in cash.
Okay. I would love to make a suggestion, or rather do some introspective here. What is happening in the current situation is that Zambia is trying to expand a number of options in terms of how we should be able to go about mineral substance. Mind you, you might be aware that currently, or even just as we speak, Zambia has been undertaking the geo mapping, high resolution, where we are trying to ascertain what we have in terms of mineral assets. I'm sure with the help of the current governance of it, we have seen that this has been undertaken to see that we can be able to ascertain what is in Matiza, what is in Shango, what is in Nabwadia, what is in maybe Matumbo, or anywhere you go in this country. We will need to ascertain what substance in terms of aspect we basically have from that point. So this is something that is currently undertaking, and from there it's where we're now going to build up and to see that the value addition comes in as a critical component, which we also need to diversify our export. The non-traditional mineral export should also be able to complement. Right now, we've got manganese and few others, but they are not complementing to what we should be able to see on the table. So, what I should be able to say is that that's something that is undertaken, and it will be soon activated into something that will be able to work out for the case. But now, coming back to the issue of energy, we understand pretty very well that Zambia's energy sector has been facing challenges in terms of reaching the maximum demanding power. So what we have seen is that there has been also the diversification as well in this sector to see that we complement the energy balance sheet with the other energy generating sources, like for example solar, which is and also we need to add other forms of energy generating sources. And in the case, what we have seen that the solar farms, or maybe I would say the Chisamba Energy Complex, has come on board trying to complement with about 200 megawatts, which basically also is enough of this current want to activate energy around the maybe producing 1,000 megawatts from renewable projects. So in the case right now, we've seen also CC interplaying also from that with some newest project which we are also counting from there, and many others. And there is also a very good deliberate policy which is actually being framed to see that with the tag by this year, end of this year, we should be able to have some quantifiable effect from that point. So what I'm trying to put across here is that a lot of things have been put in place, which is a good element, which we are seeing that the policy treatment around energy or national energy policy has been given some bit of panel beating here and there. So, open access and many others, liberation in licensing reforms and all those things. So what I should be able to put across here is that one at a time we are seeing things taking shape. But also it depends on how maybe for example the outcome of our electoral process. If we basically have a situation where we change government, maybe something can also be able to change from that point. But again, also it's high time that we see Zambia should be able to shape up in these areas, so that we can actually be able to move forward with some of the things that are required to be undertaken.
You've touched upon that I would like to actually just talk about, and which is the electoral process. Uh, when something has started, like what started, 4 years ago, 4 years, 11 months, 20, 18, like President that's counting 4 years, 11 months, 20, 20, today is actually 18 days, and of course, that's 30 seconds. The way we like to calculate. So Zambia sees economic growth picking up to 6.4%. Projected to next year, 2027. Zambia's economy is projected to grow by 6.4%, up from 5.8% in 2025, driven primarily by mining and agriculture. Mr. Kelvin, Zambia is regarded as the hub basket for South. But in Zambia, neighboring
Would be to look at electoral process as part of the economic events. And I would love to emphasize from that point, because the reason why I have put it to or classified as an economic event, because one, this is when we have to select leaders that should be able to administer and govern this country in terms of how they should go about policy moderation, formulation, and leading application. It's a point where we have to look at people that should be able to look at our resources, opportunities of this country, and much more the governance spectrum that we should be able to undertake. Going with an aspect of authority, going with the issues to do with the enforcement and many other aspects. So in short, what I'm trying to say that this is where we collect the envelope of governance of authorities. So the electoral process is an important aspect, which in any case, if we also to misuse the opportunity, we can also lose the investors' confidence, because at the point where we are, it's a point where the investors are keenly and critically looking how we are going to behave ourselves, so that even when they're putting capital investment in this country, they show what type of they're dealing with in terms of the aspect of governance authority, the aspect of soberness around some of the critical issues that need to be undertaken. So from that perspective, I'd say that it's an important time that we need also to motivate some of these things. So now, in relation to the issue where we are coming from, maybe just on the line with the governance, we saw a number of things working out in some way. So it's not always due to say that whoever comes up, they also make mistakes. They also collect. Maybe I should be able to put it in this way. Each and every government that comes to it's one, I think ELAD as well, they made some substantial progress as well. So we saw how certain things were working out, and particularly we can even point into critical areas like energy sector. They did their best, but they could not do to the fullest. Similarly, when we look at the PF, also they did their best, but they could also not do some of the things.
That's why the economy was destroyed. That's why.
So you see, yes. So we look at all those factors, but again, it's not every area that we can count to say PF destroyed. I'm not defending them.
No, I'm talking about the economy.
Yes, yes, yes.
You
So,
are an expert, and we're talking about the economy.
yeah,
And,
yes, in terms of how they go about debt contraction, that was a long component which they touched. And
Okay.
this is where we have actually been able to put ourselves into this situation because they went on bandwagon to contract anywhere, anyhow, without even having to look at the future of this country. Because if you look at the debt burden, the debt portfolio itself, for us, it's a question mark to a point where we are in terms of what has been undertaken in some of the areas. Like, for example, the investors' confidence was quite very. If you look at the debt, it was shocking. The pointed across to say that what has been done by, for me personally, it's a commendable job, and I would suggest that if there is a way we can be able to have somebody who comes even out of this electoral process behaves like the way these people are behaving, it can be a good thing. But again, it's not every element that we can be able to say they have also underscored. But what I put across here is that there is a need for us to have this positive feeling or positive development around Zambia's fact framework. What is basically happening here is that we've done a very, very positive macroeconomic balance. And what we're seeing in some of these areas, like the production in the key sectors, such as mining, tourism, agriculture, is that we can actually be able to count as well. They are basically speaking with that positive, attitude, of which we should be able to see that if we continue this arrangement, definitely the future for Zambia is bright. Is something we will be able to get to ground. Again, sometimes maybe also can I also tell when you are working with NED with regards to the debt issue, with many other aspects of the economy, it's always important to look first of all start cleaning up some of the elements. For example, when you are trying to work on a thing, you first start maybe adding a ground level effect. For you to ground level effect, first you have to make the house to be looking good. For example, in the case where Zambia is up the framework, the structure of the country. The structure in the case is the reserves, the kwacha and all these other factors. When the investors see that this country is looking attractive and it's something that they can explore, they will come. Once they come, they start planning production. When they start planning production, they will employ people. When they start employing people, those people will have disposable income, will have a good effect toward their families, and that's what actually basically work out from there. But in the case where we are, yes, there has been a very good environment in terms of investors' projects and the investors' undertaking, especially in the mining sector. But the problem that has been there with the mining sector is that it employs technology. That's the reason why we don't have so much people going to the mining sector. But again, the sector which has got a lot of people, which is agriculture, does not pay very well. So this is where the issue is coming. So for Zambia to change the narrative, we go into validation, be it in mining, agriculture, and many other sectors that are critically important into this. So it's important to look at all this from that framework. So my maybe conclusion part on this is that Zambia is on the right trajectory. What we need is to see how best we can turn some of the opportunities into further opportunities, so that we should be able to get if part.
All right, awesome. If you're watching us for the first time, this is decoders. You can simply purchase that decoder at $12, and you'll be able to enjoy content from Zambia and from across the globe. And also, you can also watch us on Vero TV. We are channel 102. Also on AfriSat, we are on channel 58. This is Central Voice TV, and we are on the morning daily, looking at the economy of Zambia under the UPND. Of course, there's one thing that people have been talking about is the debt restructuring and IMF support in Zambia. And as UPND, as Zambians head to the polls on the 15th of August 2026 for the general elections, question is about Zambia secured, 1.7 billion IMF program, helping Zambia recover from the debt before the economists came up to say, no, this is actually, like porridge to Zambians, or maybe it's like Vaseline on, a sore. So now, for you, who is passionate about Zambia, very patriotic, and of course, if you want to explain to a child, you want to explain to someone who is actually going into school to say, this means debt restructuring means this, because sometimes we actually talk about it, we don't even understand, including journalists, there are people, colleagues, yourselves, and simply you have to hear it from us. We're Central Voice TV, and of course, we're called the voice to your story, and we bring it alive. So we bring the story alive, and we want Mr. Kelvin Sanga to actually highlight more, which has actually in the chairman, I call him chairman, he calls himself chief marketing officer and everything. Now, right now, is the chairman of Salt Production, Mr. Againde Chilema, because he's doing salt, so we call him Salt Production, the chair of the Salt Production currently. Nonetheless, kudos to him for managing the debt restructuring and under the IMF program. So now, and to just sorry to just mention, George like watching, he actually promised him to see his going to see from him to handle this topic. So George, please, this is yours, and I'm talking about this starting right now. And kudos to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I would say I'm given a good opportunity to express on this one. Coming from where we have been mentioning of contracting debts from different sources, for me to basically give a proper flavor to this, it's basically it has to go with the how Zambia went in terms of contracting loans from different sources. We understand it pretty well that Zambia, way back in 2011, or even just slightly before that, we were in epic position where we only had 2 billion US dollars as the amount we were owing to some stakeholders. Same that platform, which now gave birth to debt relief. So Zambia moved from that debt relief now to debt contraction past 2011, 2012 up to 2014. We were contracting Euro bonds, and also we contracted a number of other debt instruments. So the gist of the matter for me to just go to these basics is to basically lay a foundation here to say that Zambia contracted from different sources, and our contraction habit did not have a proper channel of principal contraction. We were contracting from different ministries, local government, Minister of Finance, Minister of, those were responsible for contraction of debts, and we could not have a proper way of putting the whole entire Zambian government affairs in order. So when we look at all these factors, it has been a very concerning factor in the sense that when we came into 2021 or even just 2020, critical element which build up your credibility. So Zambia made that default. So meaning we are the default risk right from there. Then again, also we triggered the sovereign risk as well, meaning the investors out there started now shunning Zambia. In fact, even way before 2020, starting from 2018 up to 2021, we could not even invite not even a single investor to come and interplay into our economic aspect in terms of mining, in terms of anything. And at the point where we were, some of the investors that were in the country existing were at the point of leaving because the country was not looking very nice in terms of how the framework was looking. So now, just give that frame. It's important also to come into 2021. Even right from the time when PF was in power, there were also suggestions to go with an IMF. But of course, there was a bit of hesitance to say we cannot go with this because of the harsh conditions that were projected to come through. Maybe I should also make mention here to say that the IMF of those days and today's is a totally different altogether in terms of how they perceived, how they go about policy, instruction and all sorts of things from that perspective. So why Zambia came with an IMF, maybe that's also another part. Our contraction, as I mentioned, I have laid a background where we had a number of contractions from different sources. Some were bilateral, multilateral, others were Eurobonds, as I mentioned, which are basically capital market instruments. So to just put all these in perspective, it was just a difficult situation because it's like you, Pastor Daka, when you've got loans all over the shore, it's difficult for you to go and negotiate yourself to say, give me 2 days, I'll pay you. Because definitely you have been defaulting and your stories won't be able to be heard. But when you say, Kelvin, help me to go to that place, I want you to be in the middle, negotiate. And in the negotiation itself, lend me some money so that I can put into my business for me to start making up something. From there, I'll be paying because you have empowered me. So that's the same way in which IMF came in this country. IMF came on they have to provide an assurance to the creditors whom we have in Congole with. And that's the reason why when IMF came, also went a bit further to one, start attracting investors to come into this country, then two, make a technical assistance to how we utilize our public resource in regards to how we are running the affairs and what we're supposed to work out in terms of what this country is facing. Somehow, we've got technical guys or people that are basically also aligned to those technicalities, but they came to strengthen that framework. So now, what I should be able to put across is that IMF came to effect. With that said, what we have seen so far is that IMF, when they came, they have helped us to build the Public Management Act, which is based on the finance side, making sure that all the loans that we're supposed now to contract going forward should be coming or agent, which is the Ministry of Finance. Cases like, for example, borrowing have actually been put in place, and also we're trying to restructure some of the debts at the point where we are working under the common framework, which is actually G20. We have made a substantial impact in terms of negotiation. So now, coming to the term debt negotiation or restructure, here's a situation where, Pastor, you are supposed to have paid the money in the next 5 years, and this money comes with the commercial appeal in terms of its reality. You have borrowed maybe 25,000 kwacha, you need to pay 55% on it. Then there comes now where somebody comes to you to say, I want you contracted something that you need to pay in the next 3 days, and then somebody comes to say you'll pay in the next 8 years or 10 years. So definitely you start swapping. You get that loan, you pay off this one, you start. So that is the debt restructuring which we have put in place in the Zambian case. Zambia contracted what we call non-concession loans, which are similarly called commercial loans. Non-concession loans are commercial loans. So now we are now shifting from those non-concession loans to concession loans, which are basically almost like grants. For example, if multilateral like African Development Bank, IMF, they are basically giving you longer time for you to pay, and their interests are not going above 5%. For Zambia's case, in the Zambian scenario, the economic aspect is that we are still developing as a country. Any developing country in the world, if they go with the interest rate which are beyond 5%, then they are choking themselves. Because the growth pattern is quite slow, and that injures a number of other stuff, factors. So in the case where we wipe out those that have got high interest rates. For example, when you look at the Eurobonds, 3 billion. 3 billion in the case, it has been slashed by half, meaning we've taken part of the money from the African Development Bank in the concession. So the Eurobonds in the case, they are non-concessional, they are commercial terms in short. So we are trying now to swap the longer period that will be given to pay off, and also be able to look at how best can we create, because you see, when you look at the Eurobonds, this Bond A had a period up to 2053 to pay interest and everything else. It was coming to about 1.7, 1.7 somewhere there. So the entire bond with its interest and principles, and know that we are now opening now, so that whatever we're supposed to have been paying later on up to 2053, we should be able now to take that money back, to making sure that we don't squeeze you people to pay more taxes, and also we should not be able to squeeze the business that will come to interplay into production, into other sectors of the economy that should be able to work out from there. Because obviously, when you start making money, even business, brings about the support and others. So we can budget based on such structure kind of revenue. So it's important to look at it from there. So now what I'm put across is that it's moving from loans to less expensive. And now working out is the way we have actually been able to restructure some of these loans case by case, plus 5 certain loans should be able to work out. For example, if you may be able to understand also from this point, some of the loans came in the form of projects they could not get into the treasury. Like we talk about the bridges at Munali, Makeni, Long Acres, and the arcades. All these were contracted separately by local government. So now going forward, the party arrangement was this is where we have now put the basket. So, but going forward, our plan for conducting of public debts should be way and be transparent and accountable from that. So that is why this structuring process has been able to. So now, past this, we have seen how the economy is actually able to respond in terms of how certain things have actually been able to shape up. That's the reason why we seem to have even investors flocking to this country. Today we're talking about $4 billion in the mining sector. We're talking about 3 billion in some other sectors. So this is the reason why we're speaking of this. So it was such a necessary undertaking which has given birth to this positive element we are seeing today.
Okay. Now I'll take you to improve the fiscal discipline. Government achieved a budget surplus of 3.1% of GDP in 2025, which was a very good marking. And was that to better the economy or just for the sake of the layman out there to understand it's discipline? Yes, because mostly we all shows we all actually have shows where an economist is just speaking numbers, big words that are actually just on this show on a day like this one where you appear and bring down the weights and actually cut them down so that someone can actually understand say improve the fiscal discipline is in terms of our economy as a country.
Okay, so for us to have a proper governance or understanding of this, basically it's something that I would say physical discipline. It's a discipline that is being held within the central government's expenditure patterns. The expenditure income, where or how we work out certain things. Basically, it's something that's maybe just for me to make someone understand there. Governance, a lot of policies which are called fiscal policies. Whatever government are termed as fiscal policies. Then on the side, we've got the type of Zambia. It lands with what we call monetary policies. The monetary policies, the overseeing of the monies, the policy bordering on commerce and trade, and all sorts of things from that perspective. Yes, the government can also intervene into the monetary policies in a way, certain things work out. But by nature, the monetary policies are basically something that aligned to investment patterns and trade system and all those sort of things. There is what we call structural policies. These are policies that come as a result of maybe subsidiary law that are supposed to be made. So in the case of fiscal discipline, is where
Okay.
so it's linked to the national budget. We talk about budget at personal level. With the budget at personal level, we'll say maybe 10% of your money goes to tithe, then 15% of your money goes to rentals, 5% goes to transport, maybe another 15% goes to food. Then maybe there may even be something like 20% going to savings. So the same way you articulate the personal budget, it's the same thing that happens at national level. But at the national level, it's a different scale altogether because it takes different elements altogether from there. There are about 5 or 6 major items that take place on the budget. There is what we call general supplies. There is what we call defense. There is also what we call economic affairs. There are a lot of things that are tabulated on the budget as well, which actually also gets to eat down into our community, like for example, CDF money and all that. All that comes from that point.
Okay.
So when somebody says there's physical discipline, which has been maintained with that figure, the number in itself is a target that comes from the budget speech. And also it sometimes also speaks into what we call macroeconomic stability. Also linking to in terms of inflation and all those things. These are important aspects. So when we talk of fiscal discipline, it means we're going overboard in terms of underestimating our revenue capacity, meaning the overall revenue performance is also sticking with some positive, targets, which are also matching with the expectation that were made. For example, if you expect to say the ZLA should raise about 82% of the national budget of income, meaning we will not be able to go and borrow. You see how this interlink even with the public debt. So the moment we basically meet our target, the country won't go to borrow because it means we are making up in the country through taxation, through production, through consumption. So the money that government makes from through production. When an investor comes in this country, they learn production. They will pay income tax. They will pay tax. They also pay tax. They will pay. To some others, they're also paying advance income tax. And again, on the side of consumer, when you're buying things, we are doing VAT. VAT is a consumption, tax structure. And again, it also appears whoever is selling, selling is charging VAT or VAT on their profit. At the end of that money which comes collectively comes to the national treasury, and it's what now comes even to make your for you to have a tarmac here. Your vehicle needs to not to be visiting repairs every time because there is a tarmac, meaning the vehicle is being worked with a proper smooth road. But if you don't have a smooth road, you whatever you will be spending more time, you will not even have any disposable income. But when the government works on the road, it means to be able to empower you to spend a bit longer for you to repair your vehicle next time. And it will take time for you to reach your factors. And I'm sure maybe, I don't know if you're able to get my point, but the bottom line that these are well coordinated factors. Yes.
Awesome. Right, you're watching us from Lusaka, Zambia. This is Central Voice TV. We're taking a break right now to just have a breather, and we'll be back soon. Stay tuned, don't go away.
Do you ever wonder what happens behind the scenes of delicious meals? Name it tradition, Western foods, or those yummy foods. Well, worry no more and do join us as we unveil the secrets behind the recipes step by step. Tune in to a brand new show, Let's Cook It, with the Zambian Sunflower every Saturday at 14 hours only on Central Voice TV. Remember, we are the voice to your story.
We all have big dreams. We all want the best. Shooting for big goals means taking the bold step into a place of growth. Welcome to Gideon Robert University, where education is more than lectures and classrooms. It is preparation for the future you deserve. Whether your passion is business, technology, agriculture, law, education, or health and medicine, we have you covered with our range of programs accredited by the Higher Education Authority, the Health Professions Council of Zambia, and other regulatory authorities. Learn from experienced lecturers, build practical skills, and join a community that believes in your potential. With fully equipped labs, a modern library, and an environment that supports your growth, you can build the future you imagine. Come and join us at Gideon Robert University. The June-July intake is now open. Apply now on our online portal at GideonRobertUniversity.com. For more information, call us on 0979 966 615, 0211 223 737. You can email or visit us at the address below.
Have you been wondering which company will build your dream house? Mosaic Construction has the answer for you. Mosaic Construction Limited. We offer the following services: 3D version of your house plan, feasibility study, wall fence and gate installation, paving, environmental maintenance, plumbing, general building and design, planning, operation and maintenance, project management, inspection and construction, and many more. We are situated in Lusaka, Zambezi Road, directly opposite Roma Park. For more information, contact us on 0977 548606 or 0964028105 or visit www.mosaiclimitcompany.online or email mosaicconstruction@gmail.com. Mosaic Construction Company, building on trust.
And I think some of you wanted to actually get Mr. Derek Singela. Your question has been noted to say we should ask about the economic impact under the UPN. And that's where we're going. Yeah. So, sir, the economic impact under the UPN. You've explained everything, the restructure. But now, from a point of view as an economist,
Okay, as I hinted, I think we have done some substantial progress in terms of how Zambia should be able to look in the domestic market and also outside there. As we speak, I think we should be able to say we are standing on a good platform. Just last year, I think we managed to stabilize a number of key fundamental aspects. We've done some partial, recovery of some sort. Looking at, if you were to just maybe cast shadow, 2021 to 2026 has been considered, or even just was considered to be a bumpy road. And how we have navigated through this with an aspect of external shocks, I think we should be able to have done a recommendable job, as Zambians. Of course, under this leadership, we have seen how certain things have actually been able to work out, despite maybe an energy sector issue. And again, also the aspect of how we have coordinated some of the sectorial, performances. I think it also speaks a story, because Zambia now is broadly taking force in the different sectors, as opposed to considered to be a mono economy, where mining was the most prominent feature in everything that we should be able to see. But today we are seeing, we are doing export in some of the aggregated products. We have done a very good, performance in agriculture. We've also done very well in energy as well, because there has been a lot of deliberations. As you can see, we haven't experienced any load shedding right from the beginning of this year, meaning we have done some better performance from that point. I'm not speaking as UPND. I'm speaking as Kelvin, and as a Zambian, because you see, right now Zambia is on the glory land. If you go across the region, they are speaking of Zambia's strong will, which has passed. And as we speak, also Zambia is one of the eminent, feature in the upcoming or advancing, economy in a way within the African continent. Of course, we are in an emerging status, but we have done quite substantial in terms of how we have put things in place and how we are coordinating. If you look at even just the leadership style, I think for me, I would say HH has conducted himself very well in terms of how he has taken leadership, in terms of policy, in terms of administration. I'm not saying this to recommend, to say is something that I'm endorsing, but I feel if we're to maybe elect somebody of this caliber, even as we go through election, it can be a good thing for us to make his that's continuation. Then in terms of just how we have fared with the mining sector, in terms of performance, how we are putting things together, because you see, it's quite ideological to say that revamping a mine that was long, I'm sure not wait 47 years, but 47 years ago a mine was dead, and today we have we've got Kipushi, we've got Kitumba, we've got so many mines that with a policy aspiration to reach about 3 million metric tons of output. Maybe this year projecting to 1 million of output, productive output of copper. That has already given me a sense of what you should be able to see going forward with the steadiness of leadership. We need a leadership that should be able to work out with that servanthood as well, and ensure that we also take care of such certain sectors that are giving impact. And again, Zambia needs to sit into validation. We are looking forward to see that these bumper others that we have seen under this leadership might be able to take force now into processing. And again, the key factor I think that I've seen, which this governance has also done, is to just basically put law and order. Look at where we are. Despite having active campaign period, we still have business moving, even if it's at a slow pace, but we can tell to see how certain things are shaping up. So that was a good story. If you to compare, for me, personally, to compare with the previous, governance authority, despite whatever they did as well, I think this is better off compared
out of 10.
Yes.
That's compared out of 10.
Maybe I'll give them a 7 because the PF I'll give them maybe 4, 5 somewhere. Yes, yeah, yes, sure.
Overall assessment on positive economic stability.
So far, maybe just to look at like the growth, this different speed in terms of licensing to participation. We've seen how certain elements in agriculture working. We've seen how certain factors within the tourism also holding up. By the way, also we've seen how some other factors also working out, like CDF. Despite some few elements that need to be also corrected there, because we need to make sure that we have a proper mechanism of grassroots level, and again, how we should work out the rates. In uniformity, because if you, pastor, you are a member of parliament of Changombo, and you are aggressive, the CDF on your side will be aggressive as well. So you will not see maybe another MP in Nabuadia also doing the same. So that there is that gap. So they need for us to create some pattern of similarity in terms of how CDF should be applied. And again, the communication also should be an equal communication. Look, today, maybe the past MPs, I'm sure you used to hear of Chande Chanda, because he was aggressive. He was using CDF to the most effective way. And if you talk about maybe say Kalomo has got that man called Nkombo. I don't know, not Nkombo, Kombon, yeah. So I don't know if you were able to see what he was doing there, because he was not pronouncing what he was doing. So that is where the issue comes in when it comes to such issues. There was no uniformity in terms of what is happening on the grassroots level, in terms of communication, in terms of even evaluating how the CDF is typically working, and all those factors. And then when you look at issues of energy, I think we should also look at the policy of disposal for the solar panels. At some point, we have a situation where we have this rampantly around the places, how we go about disposal and those sort of things. And again, also we need to look at how best can we work with the the targets that we have for maize, soybeans, and many others. Obviously, the good part that we have done that Zambia does not cooking oil. We are making our own cooking oil. We are making transformers now. So we are changing a bit from importing to making like.
Zambia started making batteries.
Yes, they are making. They are making Chivombo. We are making batteries in Chivombo. We are making fertilizer.
Batteries are too expensive in Zambia.
Yeah, with time, yes, because the reason why that's because we still play a part of importing. So when you're importing an item and you're making the local market, the import becomes cheaper than the one that you're making. So not until we pass a policy to say let's support Zambian made products, then we're now changing the situation. So that is what happens most of the times. Then when you look at also the aspect of fertilizer, we used to spend $500 million importing fertilizer, but the story has changed today. We are making our own fertilizer. We're also doing blending with private sectors as well. We are feeding now the regional market in terms of supplying the regional market in terms of fertilizer. We're making fertilizer that is specific for crops. basically sensitive. For example, you might need, fertilizer which is maize, where we do not need some of the elements to be part and parcel there. So we're making fertilizer for vegetables and all sorts of things. So all those things have actually been put in place. And going forward, I think if we tend to hold the grip, the way things are holding or things are turning out to be, Zambia is headed for a very good boost in terms of how we are going to work with in pricing as well. And overall, the interest that we have also created in terms of changing the patterns. Long time people used to think getting employed in government is the only way to go, but today you can be an entrepreneur, you can do anything, you can basically make up things from all circles. So what I'm trying to say that the environment has been cultivated for growth, and what we need is a proper capacity building and skills development. Looking at the issues of education, where there is free education. Yes, people may even say, but they are crowded. There is always a starting point, because imagine there is no free education. We are all paying. The cost of living would have even been worse the way it is, because right now, at least you can send the children to school. You fight other issues that you can be able to look at. Issues of education is something that has been partly catered for. Yes, the quality can also be able to come through with time, because the start always has issues here and there. Zambia used to import desks. Right now, we're making our own desks. So a number of things. If you look at even just the change within the education curriculum, we are talking of education transformation, which is now demanding that if you see a child at grade 9 not doing very well, can be pushed into technical and vocational training, up to grade 12, and eventually they will also be able to do some other things. Then if they set this child has got an academic excellence, they take them now to professional and academic field, which they come now to become whatever they may tend to be in terms of trying to help the country with their blends and those sort of things from there. So a number of things are being made. The only challenge I can tell you which Zambia is facing is coordinating these good things with a proper way of management. That is where we are lacking. Otherwise,
thank you so much, yes, Mr. Sanga, for coming to. We appreciate you.
My pleasure.
Zambia has seen a strong microeconomic recovery, as you have said it, and we've noted that the benefit have not fully reached the ordinary citizens, but simply the economy is not just on paper improving, and also it will reach out to the people of the ground. Thank you so much to everyone who has watched the program. Exactly 1 hour of this program is not enough to have everything talked about or looked over. So we had Mr. Kelvin Sanga, who is an economist, and maybe you can be given PS at the ministry.
Whatever comes, but the issue is that I'm just a Zambian who is very interested in working for Zambia. I tell you one thing. Even if somebody tells me to say, come to Kabwe and speak about Zambia's issues, I will not look at anyone to pay me. I'll use my own fuel. I will go there. So that is what I'm trying to talk about, is to also create that passion for the country, because I would love to see that Zambia moves in a proper direction. In fact, for your own information, part of these issues of even debt negotiation or restructuring, I was part of those who started calling for Zambia to go into negotiation with the IMF and many other stuff. And some of the points that we have been speaking about, they are being activated. When you speak about the policy on energy, you speak about this. So some of this also, they tend to receive the feedback, because we react to the market. We act also to the policy orders. We basically play a role to ensure that we speak on behalf of the Zambians, and also we speak on behalf of the stakeholders, because whatever they're making might not be able to be translated to the common ground, people out there. But we tend to also explain what they're trying to do in terms of policy matrix or trade mechanics and those sort of things from that basis. So what I'm able to put across here is that whatever comes the way, we can actually be able to work out. If it's something that Zambia wants me to be part and parcel of the governance system, who might not to refuse, because I happen myself to say, let me just work for people. And mind you, I will tell you, somebody told me to say, why is pastors MP? I will tell you one thing, one reason.
That's where I wanted to go.
The reason why I have not decided to go into governance or into any of these portfolio, because I want, for example, so if you don't see for any, I want to have my own money, even when I get paid, I want to work for people. That's what I'm looking for. Because for me, I believe when you are working for people, you work without expecting not to be rich there. I should be making my money to be rich in the private sector before I go to public sector. The problem that has been there is that everyone wants to go into government so they can have a safe basket of income, which is not supposed to be the case. Because first of all, when you're working for people, the first issue that should be there is to look for how you are going to service the people and not to go and tap money. That's the reason why you've got unethical issues like corruption, bribery, and those sort of things there. Because people have got long motion when they go into public service. Public service should be required with an attitude of service, and it should not be a place where you start tapping money to enrich yourself or to do self-aggrandizement. Public service is to offer service and to ensure that you also deliver quality service for you to actually push this country forward. If you look at what we are trying to see right now, some people, even when they do not have money, right now, because they feel a ruling party has got money, so they want to force themselves into the ruling party as candidates. When they are given that money for campaign, they first of all they want to leave something for themselves, and then they push in the campaign halfway. That doesn't work out. When you are given an opportunity to go into public service, you should be able to make sure that you don't depend on the public service. Yes, but in the case where public service is demanding, I think there is also a need for public service that say we don't need to come here to hit. Yes, you can. Do that, but not when to go extravagance in terms of expenditure, in terms of everything. When people going to then they used to be 1 million worthy. All the time we will just see them 8 million worth of assets. So that is wrong. Public service. In fact, this topic should be a topic that I would love to come and speak, because it's at a point where we are into electoral processing, which demands a lot of us. Because you see, when you go into public service, it's not where you want to see the weakness. It's where you want to see the weakness, not to tap money, weakness to correct, to be of service to the people. But if you've got a wrong motive, like when you see the road construction is happening and you are the minister in charge of roads or anything, then you want to have a cut there, I think that's a long character. We should not promote that character. And it also calls for lifestyle audit. Whoever is going into public service should declare, even at a point when they are in parliament, they should be able to be trusted to say this person is worth about 10 million. But how come all of a sudden is now going to 50 million? So those are issues that I should be able to say. Let me not take much of your time, but the bottom line that public service should not go with a mind of self-aggrandizement. It should be a place of service delivery.
Sure. Do we have Zambians who are millionaires in dollar?
Yes, we do, except that sometimes it becomes difficult for one to come out to say, millions of dollars. Other people have got money, but they choose to remain silent. And again, also the principle of money. The principle of money, I want to emphasize on this one. Whenever you see there is noise with somebody with money, just know that the end of that person with money is almost near. Okay. It's the same with a bank. You never go to any bank or even just and find a loud noise. So money does not need noise. Okay. When you have money, the best to work with that money is to keep quiet. Let your actions speak. Oh, this one is the one sponsoring 20 students. This one is doing this. Let your money speak in good other things,
Okay.
not where you basically sound otherwise. Yeah.
It was shocking in 2015 to discover that HH was paying for 75 students at UNZA and 32 at CBU and other private universities under my own investigations. And
Not only
the
that,
time that I was given,
Not only that, I've got two of my friends. They are my friends based on me. They are my age mate, and I network with them. Not inside networking with them, but we know each other. We can speak to each other. One is Antonio Mwanza. He was educated by HH.
Yes.
Then two, Dan Ampunda was educated by HH. But you see, the issue is you can even tell from there. So for me, the issue that I'm not endorsing anyone, but in public service, you come with an attitude of service. You don't look at how do I tap money. I think I'll end it from there.
All right, thank you so much, viewers. We've come to the end of the show. This has been the Morning Daily. Today we've actually gone beyond our time, and we sincerely appreciate, not really apologizing, but appreciate your time, and of course being with us has been a great time. I've been your host, Pastor Derek Shine. See you tomorrow, same time, same place. Thank you so much for the production team, transmission controller Violet, Mundia, and everybody involved in the production. Good day.